All right, we should be good to go here. Let me just check my handy little phone app and the group. Make sure we're on. Oh, yeah, there we are. Hello, everybody. All right, guys, this is Mary, and I have Karrie on today. So, Karrie is I met Karrie online. Like, I meet a lot of people these days. And we actually just found out we are neighbors. So, that's really weird. But Karrie has this great Instagram account, and it's called Sustainability Bootcamp. And I am not at the level of which I would like to be with sustainability, especially since after I had kids. I was really on my way before I had kids, and then after I had kids, it got really tough, and timing and all sorts of things. But it's something I really am interested in. I want to move towards doing everything I can. I grew up recycling, and so like anything I can do to leave us junk planet actually thrive is what I'm interested in. Am I following it all the time? Let's be honest. But it's living this life, right? She sharing with people what, oh, it says my internet's unstable. So she is an environmental activist, a creator of Sustainability Bootcamp. She does consulting and workshops driven business and to make not only personal choices, but they change lives. Like, so it's not just for them, it's for the greater good. This is a business that stems directly from her heart. And I'm really excited to have her on so she can talk to us about food and it's starting in the home and how we can bring more sustainability here. So, Karrie, tell us a little bit about, how you got into all of this.
I would say it started at a young age. I grew up in a time of the Clean Plate Club. So you were not allowed to leave the table if there was anything left on it, even though I tried very hard to give my peas to my cat and our dog. And I got caught doing that, which is fun because I love peas now, but wouldn't eat them when I was a child. So Clean Plate Club, it was really drilled into us from my mom that there were people starving in the world and you shouldn't waste food. And I believe that to this day. And when I was eating in restaurants, I would take that to the 10th degree. If I forgot to bring my own to go container, I would sit and eat until I was stuffed. I had a friend do it with me once, and the proprietors thought we were nuts. But I was like, I'm not wasting the food, and I don't want to take a to go container. So that gave me a stomach ache, and that definitely kept me from ever forgetting my to go container ever again. So yeah, Clean Plate Club, that's where it all started. Then I started a donut business and I asked my customers to bring their own to go containers, and people loved it. And they said that it even got them to start doing it when they went to other restaurants and other pop ups. And I ended the business at the end of 2019 because I always knew that baking was not my passion. My passion is to, and my purpose on this planet is to empower people, empower them to know that everyone makes a difference. Every action that you do makes a difference. And it's not about perfection. As Mary, the life coach and awesome woman that she is, you can't wait until you are perfect to do anything because the world is, falling apart daily. And I'm not perfect. I'm not completely zero waste. It's a step. And so I want to bring people along with me on my journey and teach them easy things you can do. And it's like, how they talk about the gateway drug? My gateway was plastic bottles. I saw the documentary Tapped at the Riverview Theater. Josh Hartnett was in town to actually introduce it. And it was made by two women, and Friends of the Mississippi sponsored it. And I saw that and learned all about the plastic bottled water industry. And I was never a water bottle buyer anyway, but it got me to never buy any liquids in plastic, like juice or just anything. It really showed plastic in a different light for me. That was many years ago. I can't even remember exactly when that was. But so that was the gateway, I would say, for me. So then I just continually watch documentaries, and I still do when I'm in a semi-happy frame of mind. We all know when we can handle documentaries and ingesting all the information. And then you take that information. So information is power, but only if it creates action. So the knowing, you can't let it paralyze you and make you completely depressed. You just say, okay, I'm going to do this today. And it's not about guilting yourself and seeing everything in your house and everything you've done wrong up to this point. It's about doing better than you did the day before. Is that a good tangent, Mary?
Yeah. That, I mean, I think that that's really helpful, because I think a lot of us, when we see either the zero waste people, or it's just like, here, everything that all the waste I created in this mason jar. And it seems like, I'm sure that it's, but it just seems like, how do you get there? And so, and then I hear routinely from other people in life, not just with this, but especially with this, is, well, I mean, is it really going to make a difference when I, use a shampoo bar versus, or whatever, or use, certain different kinds of toothpaste that doesn't have a regular container? It's like, well, I think it will add up. Yes.
Yeah.
But this whole idea of less is more doesn't feel like it pertains when it's something that's so big. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, it really helped me when I would say my guilty conscience, growing up very strict Catholic, has worked to the benefit of others, myself, and the environment. Because once I find out about something, my moral code can't say, oh, that's okay to continue doing this. And so, yeah, I mean, it has ostracized me to some degree to some of my old friends. That, because when you start doing things, people tend to be a little judgy in the beginning. So I'm waning away from that because I want to create change. And I think people that judge themselves the hardest.
Mhm.
So to be more compassionate with myself is helping me to be more compassionate with other people. Um, I chose not to have children at a very young age because I learned about overpopulation when I was 12 in my Catholic grade school in Wisconsin, and never wanted to contribute to that. I love children. Children are the best listeners, and the easiest way, I think, to help mold their families and their lives and influence their parents also. So a funny little anecdote. This is semi off topic, but I like turning things into games. And a funny thing I was thinking of is it was garbage day, last Thursday in our neighborhood, and I forgot to pull the bins over, but I had nothing in them. So I'm like, my garbage men are even going to think I'm on a long vacation, or they're going to think I'm a crazy hoarder that never takes out trash. I don't know, but I don't produce trash to take it out.
Mhm.
And I love that. So I see that as a game, that I'm not part of this system that's about constantly consuming. My weekends aren't about going to Target because there's nothing there that I need.
Mhm.
And that freaked out some friends that I have because they're like, where do you get stuff? And I'm like, what stuff? What do I need? And you realize that you're just part of the system and a sheeple, sheeple, that you're buying into this consumerism, that it's a way of controlling us. And so I'm a stereotypical youngest child and I don't want to be controlled. So I live life on my terms of not having the waste. So there's my
So,
off topic. Do you want to go back to food justice?
well, so you had said that you wanted to talk like about fresh start with fresh food. And I
Mhm.
know that I saw, a post that you did the other day about how you went to the Minneapolis, oh my gosh, the farmers market, and you loaded up on produce. So like, what are your tips, or what did you want to share with everyone about how to just sort of get started with keeping food sustainable at home.
Right. So COVID, what it has done for me, so how you take the good from maybe the bad or the inconvenient, is I watched that one doctor's video about how to clean your packaging, how to, what bags you can bring to the store. And it seriously took me 3 hours the first time I went to the grocery store. And I posted about it on Facebook, and one person was mad because they're like, you're making us scared. And I was just like, this is BS. I am not doing that again. So since March, I think I have been inside an actual grocery store 3 times since March. So that has really helped me on my zero waste, journey, is I only go to the farmer's market. So I'm not a singer, but if you swiped on my newest Instagram, the second one is me singing. Did you see it, Mary? Okay. Swipe over. It's kind of funny. Just to make myself laugh, I make up little tunes. So I said that the farmer's market is my version of a grocery store. And it's like my only like social outlet and the only errands that I do. So I meet my friend there who made that picture, and that's actually of her in it, my friend Allison. So we meet at the farmer's market, and if there's something in a large bushel that we both want, we buy it in a larger quantity and then we split it, and that saves us a ton of money. So you can turn it into a fun shopping trip with a friend who knows how to cook. And if you're not a big cook yet, all you have to do is pick a food, particularly fruit or vegetable that you like, and just type it in, and whatever your specifications are, recipe, poof, you know, make a grocery list. I have definitely overbought food. My friends are really good influencers with me. My friend Allison, she's helped me to not overbuy when we go to the farmer's market, because food waste, 1/3 of all food produced in the I think is it the United States or the entire world, ends up in landfills. And because the landfills aren't equipped to handle the food waste, it produces methane. So if food waste was a country, it would be the 3rd largest producer of methane. That is crazy. So I constantly am trying to learn these facts and keep myself educated, because that's what propels me forward into changing my habits. And because I find it fun and I love talking to the farmers, I grow in my yard also, but I never start it soon enough to have it ready to eat, at the beginning of spring, like our local farmers do. So I only go to the local farmers. I know them. I make friends with them. They often give me deals. Sometimes they'll give me something for free that I don't know what it is. It's usually an Asian vegetable, and they'll tell me how to use it. So that's really fun. And then I'll give them recipes, and they'll be like, I never did that before. And I make sure that they're composting whatever they're not using. And then I can't remember what it's called, but there's an organization in Minneapolis that has volunteers, and they go around to all the vendors with cardboard boxes, and they take all the food that wasn't sold at the end of the market that they know is going to rot before they have another one, and they take it to food shelves. So that's awesome. I also bring extra reusable bags that I have, and I hand them out to strangers. So I've only been denied maybe 3 times in the 5+ years that I've been handing them out. And I got extra bags because I just posted on Nextdoor. And I said, hey, everybody complains that they have too many extra reusable bags. Well, I actually am an extrovert, and I hand them out to strangers. So if anybody wants to give them to me, only one person responded. And at my front door, this was like a year, maybe it was last year, and I got this giant bag filled with Minneapolis or Minnesota Cremation Society bags, which I thought was totally funny, but they're clean and they're new. And so I've given them all away. So I have to do another post because when I share my passion and I alert people that I say plastic is evil, it comes from oil, it can't be recycled, it ends up in our waterways. You can't put them in your recycling bin because they clog up the machine at the recycling facilities. I've gone to City Hall, we've talked about this. And then when people say, oh, I'm using them for, garbage liners. Well, you don't need to do that either. You can use leftover paper bags. I've had my house for 20 years. I have never once bought a garbage bag. People think that's crazy, but there's a convenience store at the end of my corner and people throw trash constantly. And I've actually picked up plastic bags from my yard, and that's what I've used if I actually need a garbage bag. But what I've done is any large bulk bags of food that I get, I just cut the top off and I use those as garbage bag liners. But like I said, like I produce a bag of garbage maybe once a month. I also do Airbnb. So I try to influence my guests. I give them reusable shopping bags to go to the store with. I give them food containers to use so they're not wasting anything. I tell them, you know, if you get food to go, don't get any plasticware because you can use all the silverware. And oftentimes it's things that they've never thought about before. And I get them to watch documentaries. So if you feel like you haven't started your journey, start with documentaries, food documentaries, Forks Over Knives, Food Inc. What the Health is a great one. Plastic Paradise, you can watch on YouTube just to get influenced with the plastic industry. What's the newest Schwarzenegger one? The Game Changers. I cannot say his name. The Game Changers. Cowspiracy, if you consider yourself an environmentalist, watch that. So as far as food justice, I'll go back, Mary. Oh, I can't hear you. You're on mute.
I like to recap. So it sounds like, based off of what you were discussing, the main recommendations that you have for people when you're starting in your home is one, take, have reusable containers so that you're not constantly having to buy things. If possible, bring them to restaurants, have the restaurants fill them. If you go to a restaurant and you can't eat it all, which no reason to stuff yourself if you're not that hungry, then take it home. Always be prepared that way. If you're going grocery shopping or you're going to the farmer's market, bring your own bags. I mean, these are little things to do to get started. And
Yep.
yeah. Yeah. And then also there's lots of uses for the paper bags, right? You can use them in your home as just for garbage. So yeah. So tell us more about the food justice.
Sure. So you can look up the definitions of food justice, but I'm going to tell you where I'm at with it and what I think about. So food justice, you think about the beginning process, farming, processing, workers, distance. Start thinking about all of those things before you buy something from the grocery store. Where is it coming from? How far did it have to travel? Is it organic? Does it contain pesticides, glyphosate? Glyphosate, as we're all finding out, is incredibly terrible for our body and the environment. Soil, what is it? I think it's within 25 years, we're not going to have any usable soil left anymore because of all the chemicals that have been used in farming and because of tilling. It's removing all the topsoil, and that's why the Dust Bowl happened in the first place, was because of tilling. So there's some new great documentaries, The Need to Grow, and the Woody Harrelson one, Kiss the Ground. Check that one out. That's the newest one on Netflix also.
I'm going to have you post your recommendations underneath the video so people can benefit from those documentaries.
Yeah, and I started hearing about soil health a while ago, but then I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, the Nobel conference at Gustavus College was all about soil. And I was like, oh dear God, how can I sit through 2 days of scientists talking about soil? It was so interesting. The mushroom woman and the forest professor, those were the most fascinating, but that's where I really understood about soil health and how there are, like, I can't remember what the percentage is, but the micro biome of the soil is insane. And they die because of all the chemicals that are put on the crops. They're dead. And when they're dead, they don't put any life into the food. So I'm gluten-free and vegan, and I haven't eaten animals in almost 30 years, but I still am not at optimum health. And it's because our food does not contain the nutrients that it needs, and it's because the soil is dead. So think about this as far as the planet health and your own personal health, that you have to buy organic and you need to start learning where your food is coming from. That's why I prefer to go to the Minneapolis Farmers Market, go to these small family farms. I talk to them about how much they spray, if they spray. Their farms are small, so they're not using the chemicals that the large farms are using. Now, these large farms that are spraying all these chemicals are also doing this on corn and soybean crops, specifically to feed livestock. So everything that the cows are eating, all those chemicals, everything that the pigs are getting, that is going into you. So you have to think about the whole chain of it. So food justice also pertains to food deserts. In neighborhoods where there's no grocery stores and the only place that people can go to is the convenience store, which if they're lucky, there'll be a basket with some bananas and apples and that's it. There's never greens, there's nothing else. So that's part of social justice movement. And then taking vacant lots and turning them into food forests, which is something that I really want to work on and figure out how we can do like a fruit tree, buy one, give one. That's something I just, a little epiphany that just came to me the other day. So I really want to work on figuring out how to do that. I mean, I contact our mayor a lot. I've met Jacob a few times and I send him messages and I send him information of other cities that are doing food forests, like Seattle. I think they had the first one. And anytime there's cities that go plastic free, I love being involved. And social media is really easy. When you start doing something, just start influencing your friends. If you have a question, ask your friends. They probably have a tip. A lot of the things I do in my home, I learned from my grandma. Like I don't use any toxins to get rid of pests. Clove powder. She used to have whole cloves and clove powder all over her kitchen because she had these tiny little, she called grease ants. So when I had a cat, the ants would come in like once every 3 years to eat the cat food. So I saw where they were coming in and I just dumped clove powder. So that's not toxic for me. The ants don't like the smell of it. I don't think it kills them, but it keeps them away and makes them go back out. So things like that, things that are healthy for you are healthy for the planet, are healthiest for our economy. Keep us from all these monocrops that we're doing are specifically to feed cattle. So if you are eating animals and animal products, you are contributing to destroying the planet. Okay, so that's the food justice. And because your page is about feminism, right, Mary? And it's all female issues. Okay, so something that I learned that was a very aha moment for me was the animals that are used in animal agriculture, any sort of eating of the animals or the animal byproducts, who are they? They're female. They're females. So there's a whole feminist movement to not consume these products just because they're a different species doesn't mean that we can't relate to them as mothers, as having the same female sex organs, the mammary glands. So what I say to people is, would you like to be raped by a different species and have your child stolen from you a day or two after they were born? And people think that's harsh. And I'm like, well, that's the reality of it. Because when humans can find out a way to make money, they enslave, they rape, they control, they genetically alter these animals. That's not a peaceful, kind way, and that's not the world that I want to be living in. So that's social justice right there. And all these animals, the cows for the milk, they're the ones that are being raped and having their babies stolen. The chickens, when a male chick, when they find out they're male, they go through a grinder alive because they're a rooster. Well, why would they do that? Well, because roosters don't produce eggs. They don't have any monetary value. So if you're contributing to a system that only values the life that can produce money for them, you're part of this machine. And that's not a part that I want to be a part of. So That's my little tangent, Mary. But does that make sense to you? Do you have questions from, a female feminist angle, Mary, on any of that?
No, I mean, I don't. I think that it's one of those things that you have got to continually pay attention to, just like with everything else. And then as you make changes for yourself, you continue to tap in. And I know one of the things that Karrie and I talked about when I said, well, I definitely, let's have you come on and do a talk. I was like, but I'm going to warn you, I am not a vegetarian. I am not somebody who's 100% a vegetarian. I eat mostly plants, and I do eat sustainable beef, and I eat chicken, and I eat, so I eat these things. And I didn't used to eat a lot of meat as a kid because I wanted to be a vegetarian, and it just wasn't my method for health. So when we come and we talk about these things, it is a complicated matter. Like, it's great because Karrie, it's cut and dry for Karrie, because look at this. Like, and that's what we need. We need people in the world who are very passionate and who are waking everyone else up to what is going on.
Well,
Because
it's also really easy to do. When
yeah,
I started, when I went vegetarian, there were no veggie burgers in the store. Like in college, I lived off of rice and lentils, and it tasted gross because I didn't know how to cook. But my moral code, is like this. I'm on it, and I don't waver from it because, it's, like Al Gore is an inconvenient truth. Well, it's not inconvenient anymore. Every animal product that you want to eat, there is a vegan version. There's coconut yogurt, there's soy yogurt, there's almond milk yogurt. There's no excuses anymore. I don't buy a lot of those things because I don't like the packaging. I make all my food from scratch. I find cooking really peaceful and meditative. So for me, it's not a burden. I actually just bought an 8-quart Instapot with an air fryer on top. Oh, I find it so complicated. I haven't figured it out yet. I have to watch more YouTube videos. But I get all my electricity from the solar array that's on the parking ramp next to the Target Center. So I feel like plugging it in, using the electricity more than the natural gas from my stove is a better way to go. So yeah, everything is a journey, but there really is no such thing as sustainable animal products, just so you know. That is greenwashing, and that's just an excuse for humans to be able to make money and to be able to eat what they want. But if you really like the taste of beef, have an Impossible Burger, Beyond Burgers. The Beyond sausage is the best. It actually freaks me out because I grew up very German in the Milwaukee area. So when people try to say, oh, it's my cultural heritage, I'm like, look, I grew up around beer, blood sausage. My mom would eat cannibal sandwiches. My favorite food was liverwurst, which I can't even imagine that was my favorite, lunch meat to eat. But I'm celiac, so I never liked beer anyway. But yeah, and cheese. I mean, I have dairy intolerance, and a lot of people do too. And I would say to them, I'd say, well, do you know why? And they look at me blankly, and I say, because you're not a cow. And then they look kind of confused. We're the only mammal to go off of our mother's milk and then drink a different species. And the only reason we did is because humans realized they could make money off of it. So understand how you have been tricked into this system, into buying into it, because that's what it all is. And because I don't want to be controlled, largely by the men that have created all these systems. And then rennet is in a lot of different cheeses. Read your ingredients. It's the inside scraping of a calf's stomach. Yes, they are killed for this. They're killed for an enzyme in their stomach. And then all of the animals that humans eat are babies. Pigs are killed usually at 4 months. A milking cow, because she gets mastitis and she dies from constantly having babies and being milked by machines, 2 years. She falls over, they drag her through the slaughterhouse, and she's ground up into human food, dog food, cat food, and everything else. Yeah, it's horrible. Nobody wants to hear about it, but why would you want to keep contributing to it and not knowing? I want to be informed about it and go, haha, I'm not buying into your system, and I'm not going to consume that anymore. And I didn't know anything really about chickens I was eating a lot of eggs when I found out that I went gluten-free because it was an easy way to be full and get protein. And then I learned about Chicken Run Rescue that used to be in North Minneapolis. And I went there to take care of the chickens one day. And then I have another friend who has a rooster sanctuary, and it's called Rooster Redemption. And she's about an hour and a half out of the city. And she had to create that because the roosters get dumped off at the Humane Society or the Minneapolis Pound, not the Humane Society, the Pound, because people want backyard chickens. And then when they grow up and they turn into roosters, they have no need for them, and their neighbors don't want to hear them yell. So what happens to them? They're abandoned. They're walking around, or they get killed, or they end up, at the pound where they're going to get killed. So there's a lot of education, because I used to be for backyard, farms until I learned about that. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And it's all because humans think that they need it and they want it. It's BS. I'm totally healthy. I get my blood work done every year. You don't have to live with animal products. And if you consider yourself a feminist, you're not a feminist if you are buying these products that are females that are specifically being objectified, raped, murdered, enslaved, and turned motherless. You can watch the videos on YouTube. These mother cows are crying and they're chasing after their babies when they're being carried away in trailers. It's horrible. If you wouldn't want that done to you, I believe in the golden rule. Whether you're spiritual or not, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Even if that's a tree, or even if that's the soil, that you're raping the land with how this farming is being done. They've proven that regenerative farming works, and that's what Kiss the Ground, the documentary, is about. I would just like it to be done with sanctuary cows and not have it be part of an animal eating system. And there are farms that are just all organic, where they let all of the grasses grow, and they haven't talked about having the animals, eat it or trample on it. It's called, what is it called? Garden of Egan. And that's where the Wedge gets a lot of their produce from. I think it's in Apple Valley. I went to go see the woman speak. She wrote a book, and I think it's called Turn Left Sweet Corn. It's a weird title. And she talks about her organic farming practices. And Kiss the Ground, they show the chemical farms right next to the regenerative farms, and they show how healthy it is. So it may seem overwhelming, but like I'm saying, just take tiny steps and let it be the gateway. And so the first one for me was giving up plastic. If you're still doing plastic bottled water, it is so unhealthy. Watch the documentary Tapped. Start with that. Then when you go to the grocery store, you'll start seeing all the plastic packaging. So stay where all the fruits and vegetables are and buy the ones that are not in packaging. Even better yet, go to the farmer's market, go to the local farmer's market, support your local farmers, their local businesses. So what I do is I buy. This is the time I'm buying in bulk, because I am not a good canner. I would have given myself botulism if I would have eaten the stuff that I made, because I wasn't doing it right. I'm not good with exact. So I have friends that make kimchi that often give it to me, or will do a trade. I have another friend who makes really good salsa. So she just gave me for a late birthday present. My birthday was in July. We're not seeing each other because of COVID. And she gave me her salsa, and it was just like, damn, it's good. And she grows all the stuff too, which is awesome. So for me, it's freezing. So you can blanch. So I just bought a bucket of beans, like this big, of green beans for $5. I think that's a great deal. And then you can blanch them. Look it up on YouTube. I don't know. I think it's like 1 to 3 minutes, maybe some salt water, and then drain it, and then put them in a freezer bag. So I do not buy any Ziploc bags. I have bags that have Ziplocs on that contained other food that I keep. So that's another easy kitchen trick you can do. When you're buying something, think about if you can reuse it. Some of the packaging has plastic Velcro. Those last forever. So they're, depending on the sizes, they're really good for throwing a half avocado in. There's also silicone bags that you can buy. Earth Hero and Eti, E-T-T, I don't know if it's .com or .org. They sell the silicone bags. I don't know if they have big enough ones for freezer. because I've been using my freezer bags for so many years, they're getting holes in them now. So that's my biggest annoyance. But if you know how to can, or you have a friend that does, you can take classes on canning, you can watch YouTube videos, start doing it. This is also a really fun one that I wanted to share. There are apps where people have fruit trees and berry bushes growing in their yards, and you can go and pick them for free. So I had a friend, Ursula and Dave, in Minneapolis, that just posted. They're like, "We have like an apple tree. It's like 50 years old. We don't eat the apples." I was like, "Who doesn't eat apples?" Anyway, this tree is insanely large. I've never seen such a large apple tree. And so people responded, and I went over and got a ton of apples. A lot of them had wormholes in them, obviously because they don't spray, but I made an amazing apple crisp out of it, and then was eating an apple a day. So good. So if anybody wants to write these down, it's called ripenear.me. So that's a website, ripenear.me. And then another one is fallingfruit.org. And they also have an app. And I think you can just type in free fruit. And another one you can type in is fruit map into your apps. And I did it, Mary, for our neighborhood. And I was like, OMG, there are so many. The problem is they might be done now. So you might want to go out today and see if there's anything still left. But the Minneapolis Farmers Market has a ton of tomatoes you can go and get. And if you don't want to can them, you can blanch them and you can freeze them. And I've done that to make chili. That's actually really easy to do. I'm off nightshades right now, so it's really cut down what I'm going to have. But the Minneapolis Farmers Market will be going on for a couple weeks yet. So the cabbage is still out there, Brussels sprouts. I don't know if beans will still be back. You got to think of the green fragile ones. Those go away quicker. Kale is still happening. Kale is really easy to freeze. I wash it, I rip it off the stem, and then I've been chopping up the stems because I'm going to put that into my cream of broccoli soup. Yes, vegan. And because I'm growing broccoli in my front raised garden, and I'm going to use the stems. The stems and the leaves, you can use all of that stuff. Radishes, they still have. I even shredded all my radishes and put them in the freezer. So I'm going to freeze, and I go to the farmer's market every week, and I'm free. And I have an energy saving freezer that's, I don't know, I can't do it with my hands, maybe that big. And I've had that for years. And so I freeze everything to keep me from buying any frozen vegetables because of the plastic packaging, and because of the distance that it's shipped. So it's just crazy to me how many people do not go to the farmer's market. I'm like, OMG. Okay, so besides supporting your local farmers, so your local economy, you're helping yourself, because I don't have any garbage. I bring my reusable bag. All I'm doing is washing and then ripping off and chopping off whatever I don't want. That goes into my backyard compost. My compost I call the all-you-can-eat mouse and squirrel buffet, because they've eaten holes in it. I mean, some of the stuff is breaking down, but what I do, the good stuff, I just have a big stainless steel thing. I actually spent $20 to use it for my donut business as a double boiler. Never used it. So it's my pretty compost bin now. You don't have to buy a fancy compost bin. Like, seriously. If you think you're getting fruit flies, just put a plate over something. And then I take it out every day. But what I do, because I love my little animals, they are my family right now, especially during COVID, I leave it out by my back door for them to pick and choose what they want. And then the rest goes into the compost after a day. So, because I love them. Oh, and never throw out your avocado seeds. I know that's not local. Oh, the squirrels love them. They grab them right away. And your apple cores, I just throw those. I know it's technically illegal, I think, in the city to feed the animals, but I mean, they did it by ripping holes into my compost anyway. But they will eat every bit of the apple core and the seed, and it makes them happy, which makes me happy. Okay, come on, Mary, questions. Question from you, Mary.
So, so when it comes to, like, those are some really great things. I think one of the things, as somebody who used to really focus on what are people eating, they wanted to know what recipes, they wanted to know how to eat. I think going to the farmer's market on the weekend is such a great staple for your week, because it allows you the ability to batch cook I mean, it's not like you don't have to cook everything right after you go, but it's this nice incentive. It's just like this extension of you just went and you picked all this wonderful food, and now you can start to make something and prepare it for the week. So I think that it's a nice thing that we could all be weaving into our weekly life, because it is a nice, quick way to grab things and have
Well,
it be.
it's socializing outside during COVID too,
Well, there is that. That is definitely a huge piece.
because
So,
I won't go indoors anywhere. So that's like my one thing I get to do.
yeah. Yeah. So farmers markets, we'll see how long they'll be in full swing around here. Many of you, if you're in somewhere warmer, you probably have them year round. You're very lucky. But ours usually kind of stop around the end of November because it gets too cold here.
Yeah, then they
So
just pretty much
that's,
sell pumpkins and Christmas trees. And the
yeah.
pumpkins are out too, so they have this nice display. You know, it's not like a country pumpkin patch, but they have them, and they have the little pumpkins if you want to be so adventurous to make pumpkin pie that way.
Yeah. They're so
I do not
delicious.
do that.
I think
I
they're
don't do
pretty
that.
tasty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
have you done it, Mary? Have you done a pumpkin pie from mini pumpkins?
Yes.
Wow.
I used to make homemade pumpkin pie, homemade pecan pie,
Oh,
um, a lot of pie, because Thanksgiving was the big thing for
mhm.
us. And then I went gluten free, and I was like, I'm not going to spend all this time making a gluten free crust that you guys are going to complain about. I'm
Yeah,
done with pie.
yeah.
So
I have tons of pie crusts and gluten-free pie crust mix, and I haven't made any of them. And my favorite was pecan pie when I was little. Oh, until I realized it was all made with corn syrup. So
yeah,
then,
you don't have to use corn syrup, but
right.
yes.
So I've made, I think, one or two since being gluten-free and vegan. It doesn't really rise. No eggs, but it is really good.
Mm,
But pecans are a bit expensive, so I still have some left for my donut business, so I'm using them sparingly. I like making
pecans
granola.
are delicious. Oh
You know,
yeah.
granola is another
Yeah.
thing. As much as I really hate how we don't have, we can't really grow food year round, except there is a vertical garden warehouse in one of the old breweries. Is it in the Hams Brewery or
I don't know.
something with an SH? It's not Schlitz. I think that's Milwaukee. In St. Paul, they're doing those gardens, and they have those in Iceland too, where they're growing the food year round in the warehouses. And we're really going to have to start getting into that. Is the seasons of how it changes what we eat.
Yes.
I love that. And I think it's really good for our bodies too. Something I've always had to force myself with is to eat citrus fruit, you know, because I'm from, you know, the Milwaukee area. Like my favorite thing to eat is kale. Like my version of hell would be no sleep and not being able to eat kale. I eat kale almost every day. I make kale pesto.
Mm.
I put kale in all my soups and all my stir fry. I freaking love it. People that don't like kale just haven't figured out how to use it. I don't even put basil in my pesto, like kale pesto, and I freeze it. I just made a ton of my Instapot. Like I overcook the chickpeas. I started buying dry. Oh, I'll give you another tip also if you're living in Minneapolis. So I made dried chickpeas and made a ton of hummus, and it works really well in the freezer.
Mhm.
And I've made
Great.
oil-free hummus also, and then I use the local chili peppers that I buy in bulk at the farmer's market, and you just rinse them, and those work great frozen. And then I make my own curry throughout the year. And
Mm.
anytime you're feeling sick, or I throw it in the soup, anything spicy, that really helps. So I've been buying bulk in 25-pound paper sacks from Co-op Partners Warehouse, which is who the Wedge buys, I think, most of their stuff from. I'm still confused if one owns the other or what their relationship is, but I have a business account with them because I used to buy a lot of my organic stuff from my donut business from them. And then I canceled it. Well, they reinstated it. And so I just order it, you know, with a credit card on the phone, and then drive to the loading dock. And then if it's too heavy, the kids will throw it in the back of my trunk. So I get 25-pound bags of dried lentils, dried organic brown rice, and dried chickpeas. So yeah, Mary, if you need any, I just found out Mary lives 3 blocks north of me. So if you need any, I've been selling them to my friends too. And I keep them in sealed containers, food grade containers that I had from my donut ingredients. And then the giant bags that they come in, sometimes there's a plastic liner. So I pull those apart and use them as individual garbage bags. and even the paper. And then you can just roll it and like duct tape it shut, and the garbage will take it if there's any garbage. Like I said, I don't really produce any garbage. So, but yeah, use all the containers when you go to the store. Use everything. If you want to buy something, if it has a disposable, container, maybe rethink it and look for something that has a container that you'll actually use, like a Ziploc. And if you buy frozen fruit or vegetables that have a Ziploc on it, do not throw it out. Use that for your farmer's market buys. After you wash them, throw them in. That's what I'm doing. I have 3 heads of cauliflower in my freezer right now, and I'm going to chop them up, and then I'll have frozen cauliflower that I won't have to buy through winter.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that one of the benefits, and granted, we love the farmers market, but it is great when you belong to a co-op. I remember talking many people into owning a co-op membership because usually you buy into it, and they were like, I don't know the benefit. I was like, the benefit is you get 10% off when you buy like a bulks, like any of their bulk stuff. So if you want a bag of rice, a 25-pound bag of rice that will last like the whole year, it's 10% off, and it's organic, and you know where it came from. So yeah, it is nice to be aware of all those sort of options, because it's not, even though they tell you about it, if for some reason going to a co-op can intimidate people. So it is
Oh, I
nice
love
to
it.
remember it.
I
Mhm.
can't handle the big warehouse stores anymore. I get so overwhelmed. Like, isn't that funny how it switched? It's like the co-ops are the size of like what our grandparents maybe had for a grocery store. And now they're away from the giant bulk ones. It's overwhelming. And the other thing is the amount of things that I even buy are so small from any store. And that's the benefit, is not needing to go to these stores. When people think it's like living without, I have so much freaking free time because I'm not going to stores. Oh, and it's also, if you haven't already heard through all this COVID, it is so mentally beneficial to have a garden, even if it's just your native flowers. And please, for goodness sake, only plant native flowers and bushes. My joke is, I am only going to water you if you're going to feed me. So I have a mulberry tree, which I don't eat anymore because it gets so many worms, but the birds and squirrels love it. And it provides shade. So that was my original garden. So that now grows my raspberries that I just got from a friend like 12 years ago, and they're all over my yard now. I planted a plum tree, which does not produce plums. I have to figure that out. It produced plums 1 year, and my lovely little squirrel stole them all. I still love him, but it's annoying. And then I have a black currant bush, which make amazing scones. They're weird eating them raw, but they're really good in scones. They like explode. And then I have chokeberries, which are related to elderberries for your immune system in the front yard. Those are really good, and the birds love them. And then I have honeyberries, which mine don't produce a lot, so I think they work better in part shade. Mine are in full sun. And then I have strawberries. And then I have a front raised garden bed that still has broccoli, kale, um, lemon balm. Yeah, lemon balm, cauliflower. No, cabbage, broccoli, kale, celery, some weird lettuce, like weird Asian lettuces that are like peppery, because they didn't have a lot left at the farmer's market when I bought the plants, and they were really good. So I planted those. And now I'm collecting seeds. So definitely ask your neighbors if they have seeds that you can also share. Or if you have a garden, go out and pull the seeds and then label the envelopes. So if you get any junk mail, keep the envelopes. Those paper envelopes, those are great for collecting seeds. That's another little tip. So I started doing that yesterday, and my weird lemon pepper Asian lettuce that I don't know what it is. I just described it and put the seeds inside.
That's great. That's wonderful. So, I know you had something that you wanted to share about before we wrapped up.
Okay, yeah. So Sustainability Bootcamp. We didn't talk about my what I started. So I ended my donut business because I found what I wanted to do more was inform people and empower them, and consult about how they can switch over their lives, and just let them know that it's really easy and really fun. Like I said, my favorite thing to do is first thing in the morning in my PJs is to go out into my yard and forage for food, figure out what I can eat for breakfast, the plants I can talk to. It immediately changes your mood getting out into nature. And if you're actually growing food, it makes it more, what's the word, beneficial, but more just like giving you a task to do, a journey going out into your yard. So one thing that I love doing is going through each home in people's houses and walking them through step by step of what they can do to be more sustainable. And it doesn't have to be about buying new products or spending extra money. It's about saving money and saving time. It's incredible. Once you start doing this, you'll be like, why didn't I do this before? Because it's like a tenfold benefit. Like I said, I don't bring crap into my house. So I don't have packaging that I have to deal with once I get home. I don't have garbage bags that I have to fold up and put away. I eat what I bring back from the farmer's market and I bring back those reusable bags. It's awesome. And like I said, I have so much time because I don't have to go anywhere buying stuff. So what I'm giving away is one room that I will go through with you via FaceTime, and you can take me through and show me that room. It'll be about a half an hour. You choose the room. You tell me in advance so I can, be prepared for it, and I'll go through that room for you. So what you can hire me to do is to do a full house, going through each room. I am also teaching classes online. So follow me on my Facebook page, Sustainability Bootcamp. And then once you take one of my classes, you get into a smaller group that's called Sustainability Students. And everybody shares different tips and we can talk to each other to have more community. And then also follow me on Instagram. And I'm trying to get more comfortable being on video. So maybe I'll do more of my make up a song. It's like show tunes. If I want to put myself in a better mood, I just make up a little song about it. So I'll be posting more videos on Instagram. But yeah, it's sustainability_bootcamp, I believe, on Instagram. And follow me on that and follow me on Sustainability Bootcamp. You'll get some tips. I often post petitions, documentaries that are really fun to watch. And I only promote things that I think are going to help transform people and are going to have a message that is actually relatable. So I'm never going to suggest a documentary that's a total bummer. Like I don't suggest documentaries that are slaughterhouse documentaries because they don't change people. I don't even watch those. Like I have a lot of friends that have watched Earthlings. I'm like, I'm already vegan. Like I can't watch it. That's why I like Cowspiracy. I've done screenings of Cowspiracy. Cowspiracy is really good for people that consider themselves an environmentalist. So watch that if you do. What the Health is if you're on a lot of medications and you have health problems. The Game Changers is great for athletes. It has a ton of Olympic athletes in it if you haven't watched it yet. So there's something for everybody. And then a fun website to follow is called No Meat Athlete. And it's this man who's an athlete, and you can go on the journey with him, and he can explain everything to you from a nutritional standpoint and workout and whatnot. No Meat Athlete. How's that, Mary?
That's fantastic. Well,
You,
thank you so much, Karrie, for coming on. And I know that you're gonna go and you'll look underneath this video. So if anyone posts any other questions,
yep.
she'll hit those up, and then she'll probably elaborate on, because she has a lot of documentaries so that she's recommended, and I couldn't keep up with all of them. I've seen a number of them, but so this will be really great. So don't just start small, get started, take action,
Right.
and know that there are people who can help point you in the right direction along the way.
And it's not about perfectionism, and it's not about guilt, and it's not about judgment. Like I said earlier, we just have to be better than we were the day before. Um, and it's all about creating action and transforming everyone's lives with our own actions and being an influencer. Mary, one thing I want to ask with every time I do this with people, so you listening to me live like this, what have I inspired you to possibly think about in your life?
Well, I think that for me, I always am coming back to how much, when it comes to my health and what I'm interested in doing, is how much can I live without certain foods? Because, animals are very important to me too. I will say that I've come to terms with certain things, but I love listening to your passion, and I think that it's always worth a revisit to like reassess because, sometimes, and this is just with everything, like sometimes something might interest you, but it might feel like too much and you're just like too overwhelmed to try. And then another time it's like, no, I'm going to try this. So, and it's going to be so much easier because somehow something has changed or shifted. So I think that it's just for me, I think about these things all the time. Otherwise, I wouldn't follow you. Right. So, and I wouldn't be following a lot of the other people that I follow. Um, so for me personally, it's just a matter of, what can I recommit to or change or
Mhm.
edit so
Yeah.
that I can feel like I'm in more alignment with where I'd like to be.
Right. And I think a big thing with that is be aware of the greenwashing, you know that you've been lied to, and really think about what are your core values? The only way to live a happy, healthy life is to know what your core values are and to live by them. And if you believe, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, if you wouldn't want that done to you, how can you justify it in your life? Because that's what humans do. We justify everything. We justify everything because we think we're at the top of the food chain or because it's more convenient for us. I'm guilty of it too. I mean, no humans are perfect, but there are lines to this, and when there's vegan options to everything, if you say you like the taste of meat, I don't eat a lot of that because it's all really processed food. I think another really easy way is just to start eating really clean and be able to identify everything that's on your plate. And if you can't, then it was processed. And when you start doing that for even a week or two, you will notice how much better you feel. And so that personal recognition will get you to realize you don't want those other things. I tried giving up sugar, refined sugar. I think I made it a week. um, and I just still, when I bake, I'll use coconut sugar, but I try to use even half of what the recipe called for because sugar just does not work for me. And so I think if you approach it that way, so that it is more personal and more egoic. Like I said, what's better for the planet is better for you anyway, and it's better for your pocketbook. You'll save money, you'll have so much more free time, and you'll be healthier. It really is a win-win. If you think, oh, I think that we're above animals, it's not about that. That's fine. You don't have to be taking it from that point of view. But eating animals is not healthy. One thing I learned from Dr. Oz is it's all biological. The animals that are meant to eat other animals have a very short intestinal tract. It's so the flesh goes in and the flesh goes out. And because our intestinal tract is long, that's what causes the meat to putrefy and rot inside of us. And that's what causes heart disease and cancer. And I was like, wow, that was an aha moment for me. I already wasn't eating animals, but I was like, OMG, that totally makes sense. So I explained that to people, we're not meant to eat meat. That's why we have a long intestinal tract. And that's why we end up with disease. So just change your habits and see how you feel. I guarantee you're going to feel better. You're going to feel lighter. You're not going to be clouded with your thoughts, and you're going to sleep better. Everything will work better. Eating cleaner for you, cleaner for the planet.
Well, thank you so much.
Mary, it was so nice meeting you. This is one thing we love about social media, right? It brings like-minded people together. And I'm so excited that you live 3 blocks away. So maybe we can go for a walk.
Crazy. That's
Maybe we can go
crazy.
for a walk with masks on before winter comes.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. We'll see what happens. It's funny how time just seems to
Oh,
drone on. Well, I'm going to wrap up our
yes.
call, but thank you so much everybody for watching. I know a couple of you feel very informed, which is awesome. And like I said, Karrie's going to come in here and she's going to share with us those documentaries and maybe any other tidbits. Um, but feel free to check her out. I've put the link to her Facebook page and to her Instagram in here. And yeah,
Mary,
and I'm sure we'll see more of Karrie.
thank you so much for having this platform for women. and being interested in different topics and giving us a platform. I really appreciate you and your mind and your energy and your positivity.
Yay. Thank you. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody. Have a great day.